Alright guys, we're going to look at factorizing non-monic quadratics. So remember, a quadratic kind of looks like this, which just means the highest power is 2. And we said monic was a coefficient of 1, so non-monic must mean that this coefficient here, a, does not equal 1. So a could be 2, 3, 4, 1.6, whatever, or negative. And I want you to copy the steps in purple book from page 108 into your notes book, and we're going to go through these steps. Okay, so let's read this first. One method for factorizing non-monic quadratics is called grouping. And if we have this quadratic expression, it's a non-monic because this coefficient here is 4, it's not 1. One way of factorizing it is to follow this procedure: step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So multiply the coefficient of x squared. So what's the coefficient of x squared? It's the number in front of x squared, so 4, by the constant term. What's the constant term? It's the one without the x in front of it. That constant term is that one there. Okay, and it's negative 6. So we have to be aware of it being positive or negative. So we get this negative 24 when 4 times minus 6. Step 2, find two numbers with a product of negative 24. Product means multiplication. Product of negative 4, and that's sum. Sum means addition. So for instance, the sum of 2 and 3 is 5. So find the two numbers with the product of negative 24 and sum to give the coefficient of x. So what's the coefficient of x? It is the number in front of x. So in our case, it's this 5, isn't it? Positive 5. And I'm going to show you how to do that by looking at factor pairs. So factor pairs is important here. Split the middle term and then use grouping. And so I'm going to go through another example to show you that. Okay. So say we're asked to do factorize 2x squared is 9x plus 4. We go back to our procedure and we multiply the coefficient of x squared by the constant term. Coefficient of x squared by the constant term. So step 1, we get 2 times 4 is positive 4. It's important, is 8. That's my first step. Step 2, find the products of two numbers that multiply to give positive 8 and sum to give the coefficient of x, which is positive 9. Okay, so step 2 is working with factor pairs. So that means numbers that multiply to give 8, and then we also want it to sum to 9x. Okay, so we look at the factor pairs of 8. 8 can be positive 8 is 1 and 8, or negative 1 and negative 8, because 1 times 8 is 8. Negative 1 times negative 8 is positive 8. The other one is 2 and 4, or negative 2 times negative 4 would also give me 8. But it also needs to satisfy the condition that they sum to the middle number, the coefficient of x. So it looks like this combination of numbers will multiply to give 8 and also sum to give 9. So I'm going to deal with those numbers. Step 3 is to split up the coefficient of x into its respective components. Okay, so if we have 2x squared plus, okay, this 1 is one group of x plus 8 groups of x. And we see that this x, this x plus 8x makes this 9x. And I still have my constant term. Now step 4, use grouping to complete the factorization. Okay, so we can do this in two ways, and I'm going to do it both ways so you can see. So first, I've written it like 2x squared plus x plus 8x. So 2x squared plus x plus 8x plus 4 is the same as my original expression. That's the same thing. And I can take out a common factor between 2x squared and x. So I'm going to do that. X times 2x plus 1. And I can take out a common factor between 8x and 4. It's 4. 4 times 2x plus 1. Okay, now this 2x plus 1 is common between the two terms, x times 2x plus 1 plus 4 times 2x plus 1. So I can take that out as a common factor, 2x plus 1 times x plus 4. Okay, so this is the same as this, which is the same as this expression, which is the same as this expression. But this is the final, this one is the final factored form. Now, what happens if you guys didn't write x plus 8x? What happens if you wrote it as 2x squared plus 8x plus x plus 4? You might think, oh, that's going to be different. Well, let's continue the process, okay? Looking at the common factors between 2x squared and 8x, it's 2x and x plus 4. And if I look at there's no common factors between x and 4, so I have x plus 4, but I can think of that as x plus 4 times 1, can't I? Okay, so what's common between this term and this term? It's again the x plus 4, so I can take x plus 4 out of the common factor and then multiply by 2x and 1, because x plus 4 times that gives me this expression, and x plus 4 times 1 gives me this expression, and we see we get exactly the same thing. So it doesn't matter about which way you write your middle terms or the coefficients of x when you split them up. Okay, so let's do another example. Factorize 6x squared minus 19x plus 10. Okay, so what's my first step? It's to multiply the coefficient of x squared and the constant term. So 6 times 10, and it's positive 10, is positive 60. Then I need two numbers that multiply to give positive 60 and add or sum to give negative 19. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my factor pairs of 60. My factor pairs are 1 and 60. Now they don't look like they're going to add up to negative 19 at all. 2 and 30. I'm going to put a plus and minus here. They don't look like they're going to add up to negative 19. Okay. What else goes into 60? 3 and 20. Well, a combination of 3 and 20 doesn't look like it's going to add up to negative 19. Then I look at, it's going to be 4 goes into 60, and 4 times 15 is 60. So that will multiply to give me 60. Now will it add to give me 19? Oh yeah, look, it's looking good. So it needs to add to give negative 19, but then it needs to multiply it to give positive 60. Yeah, positive 60. So add to give negative 19 and multiply to give positive 60. So what are the two numbers going to be? It's going to have to be negative 4 minus 15 sums to negative 19, and negative 4 times negative 15 gives me the positive 60. So I can rewrite 6x squared minus 19x plus 10 as 6x squared minus 4x minus 15x plus 10. And now I'm going to take out common factors and use grouping. So what's common between 6x squared and 4x? 2x is, if I do 2x times 3x, I get this 6x squared, and 2x times minus 2 gives me the minus 4x. And what's common between negative 15x and 10? 5 is common between those two numbers. So I can write that as I'll put a negative 5 to get 3x minus 2 here, because negative 5 times 3x gives me negative 15x, and negative 5 times negative 2 gives me positive 10. And now I have a common factor again between the two terms. Okay, this is one term, 2x times 3x minus 2, and this is another term, minus 5 times 3x minus 2. And I'm going to take out my 3x minus 2 as a common factor, and get 2x minus 5. So we started with this, which is equivalent to this, by breaking up the numbers using this procedure here. This is equivalent to this by taking out a common factor. Take out the common factor again of 3x minus 2. We get the fully factorized version, which is our answer. Okay, I hope this helps, guys, and I think this is probably new, this method, so it might take a while to get used to, but it's not that tricky once you've got your head around it. Okay, thanks.